Welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, the podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hypersexualized times of ours. And in today's episode, we're talking about our programs. You see, we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes with our programs. We even have a programs team. The director of said team is on this podcast. His name is Andi Pock. I don't even know if you know that we have a director of programming, but it is Andi Pock. And so we're unpacking kind of how we got here, but also more importantly where we're going, because High Noon is crystallizing its vision in terms of the programs that we're offering, who they're for, and how they're going to impact you. So we unpack all that in today's episode. So please, if you are in our programs, you want to be in our programs, you have a kid in one of our programs, or you know somebody who should be in our programs, listen up. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody. So this is the Battle of the Andes today. I don't know how acutely aware you may or may not be, but most of our staff at this point, it has the name with the derivative of Andrew. We have Andrew and Andreas, Andronic, somebody else. Isn't there another Andy?
Andronic me. Oh, that's it. I forgot.
There's somebody else that was coming into our world, and I think we just had to reject them and just say, I'm sorry, you're perfectly qualified, except this is getting ridiculous. We're gonna get sued by somebody somewhere for just not having enough names in our organization. Also, Robert. So my name is Andrew Robert, and then Robert's name is Robert. So then somebody, I think Benji got all confused and he started calling me Robert. And then it's just a mess. It's just like we're so poor on names that we're sharing them between us like a pair of socks. Just like nobody wants to share socks and nobody wants to share names. So why are we doing it?
David too. There are tons of Davids.
So many Davids. So from now on, this is the announcement. Andi Pock will be known as Starbeam Moonshine Pants.
That's distinguishable. Yeah.
Yes. There's not too many Starbeam Moonshine Pants out there, but if there is, you guys can have some sort of cosmic duel. So welcome, Andi. And I think, this is your third time or fourth time on the podcast, but in the past, you were just like some guy that we were introducing, and then you were some guy that was hanging out a lot and had some wife, or at that point you and Karen, I think, but were blessed already. So you're like like a name brand facilitator. You had your own baseball card here in the High Noon world, and then now you're just straight up a G. Now you're on the core staff, and you are in fact the director of programs, right? Mm-hmm. You look shocked. You look like I was accusing you of something. You know this, right? You know what your job is? Okay. Yeah. That was not a statement so much as a question, just to make sure that Andy knows where he is. But he is in fact. Somebody
tells me.
Yeah. Today, that's what you are doing. You are the director of programs. And so, with that said, first of all, when did that start? Let's get back to that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so I started working part-time for the programs team last year. I think in March or April of 2023. Benji was still director of programs, and then I became...
23 or 24?
24, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Where are you right now? And basically, Andy doesn't know what his job is. He doesn't know what year it is. You need to eat food, I think.
Perhaps. Yeah, so in 2024. So a couple months of part-time in the programs team, and then I became director of programs in July. So a bit over half a year ago at this point. Yeah.
Got it. And so that's a big deal. So just so you guys know, because this is all about programs, okay? And Andy will but helping us to unpack what's going on in programs. But the evolution of our programs is a little bit hard to understand. Like, we had nothing. In the very beginning, we had nothing. It was just slides and hopes and dreams, right? Just going around giving talks. And then at some point, people started asking us for help. And we realized that's the obvious next step. But it was like going from 0 to 1. That's a giant gap. It's like what science still can't explain, by the way, about humans is like you don't go just from like monkeys to people. There's a giant transition that nobody can explain of like how do you go from non-sentient to sentient. And I think for a while science was saying that there was kind of like a bunch of sludge and it was zapped by a lightning bolt, and then humans came from that, something like that. But anyway, same with us is like it's a giant gap to go from, okay, there's a giant need, but we don't know even where to start. So then we created eventually Ascend. Okay. And then Ascend has been going through many iterations and phases. High Noon University, anybody? Kind of died a silent death. Yeah. We had a big launch and a very soft, slow, silent death. And, but at some point in 2024, Benji took over and just started saying, okay, I'm going to do this. But he was doing that and he was doing marketing. So he's splitting his focus. So he did a great job of starting to nail down some specifics, but it was not his full-time focus. And it suffered a little bit from that. And so along came a happy little German boy in lederhosen, just skipping down the street with nothing but a smile on his face and some gummy bears in his pocket. And we asked him to help take what Benji had started and take it to the next level, right? So that's where we met you. And I mean, where were we at that point? Did we have core? Did we have these things, or were they kind of fledgling when you signed up?
Well, when I signed up for the job, or
for the role, when you in your lederhosen with the gummy bears in your pocket.
With the lederhosen, I've never had lederhosen on in my life, by the way. Just for y'all.
AI can change that fact. I will make that happen.
Yeah, at the time I joined, the 3 main programs were already running: Ascend, Core, and Radiant.
Okay.
And then for people who wanted to sign up, but Core and Ascend were already running, and it was kind of in between the quarters, in between the cycles, the 40-day challenge was running, and people could sign up for that.
Yeah, my God. Okay, so, guys and gals, listen up. We knew, like, we had Ascend, and Ascend was doing its thing, but it's really hard to manage. And I'd love to hear from you just how many nervous breakdowns you've had trying to manage such a thing. But you can imagine just the time zones alone, just trying to get people into groups is such a Herculean feat. But then you have facilitators on top of that. And then you have to make sure that they're trained sufficiently and that we help them as much as they want, as much as they need, but not too much to where we're now burdening them with like all this extra stuff in their life, right? But we had Ascend going. But then at some point we realized, what about people who don't struggle with porn, but who are single and want help preparing for the blessing? So we used to have something before Core, and it was called something else. Known. Oh, wow. Thank you for that. Did you attend Known?
No, I remember I thought about it at one point, and I think it just didn't happen. And then I didn't get the chance anymore. No.
Yeah. Well, let's just call that scarcity and not us failing. But basically, like, I was a part of it, and we were trying, and it was actually a good program. Known was a good program, but it's a hard selling point because people don't join programs typically like, hey, my life is going pretty well. How do I make it like 40% better? People don't think like that. They're like, my life is on fire, save me. Or it's like it has to be more acute, like this sense of like I need to join this. It needs to be a need, not a casual want. And so eventually David Hewish came out of nowhere with this core idea based on like, hey, this book changed my life and I feel like it can change other people's lives. It was based on Core of the Universe. And it's for single people to study true parents' words on sex. I'm like, all right, let's see how it goes. I had a totally different idea. When he came to us with like, hey, we should do like a 100K study group, I was like, yeah, but, and I came up with all these wacky ideas, and it turned out that they went in the direction that Core is, and it's a fantastic idea. And then Radiant happened because we're like, well, we have all these couples too who want help after they get blessed to learn about sex, because a lot of them don't know what is the standard of sex. They just are like, okay, no information until you're blessed, and then figure it out by yourself. And that's usually the best way to get into a ton of fights. Did you guys have, Andy, do you have any education going into your blessing about sex? I mean, you were already high noon, but that's more like how to not do stupid stuff. Ascend is like building good habits on a personal level, but it's not like how to have heavenly sex. So did you have any education?
Right. Some, yeah. I had to kind of, a lot of it came from High Noon. I remember the first thing was a husbands group that High Noon was running. I don't think it was like an official program, but
Sure.
I think one or two small groups. And I happened to have a friend who was watching it, and I joined him to listen in. And that brought me into, oh yeah, I should learn stuff about good sexuality in preparation for the blessing. Not only learn how to not do XYZ to other programs. And so by the time I prepared for the blessing, High Noon had a few courses. I think the Blessed Family Project had some videos to High Noon on the webpage. And, well, the Blessed Family Ministries had some education in the Level 3 workshop that I received.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So we kind of we were figuring it out based on demand, but also just like we were pretty short staffed trying to do a lot, and to do things with volunteers, very, very difficult, because a lot of times you don't want to overburden them, and also they have crazy schedules because they have lives, but it's hard to work with people who have lives. And then the people who don't have lives, you typically don't want to work with them so much because maybe they over volunteer, you know? So yeah, anyway, we kind of figured out something as a base. And then you came into a pre-existing world, right? So we had Ascend, we had Core, we had Radiant. These things existed. But then the challenge was, well, tell me about some of the challenges of these programs. Like, what is something that people might not understand as a consumer? Like, hey, this program looks cool. And they don't know all that goes into it. And like, what are some of the nightmares that you face in terms of putting on these programs? Because they're pretty involved, right?
Yeah. I'd say the biggest challenge is time zones sometimes. Because people have to sign up, and we get a lot of questions of when are the groups happening? When is the program happening? Sure. And the answer is always, it depends on your group ultimately, and what facilitators we'll have, what group leaders we'll have, and what time slots they have available. And so we have to look for facilitators, and also for facilitators who have a bit of a, on a scale, like different time zones and different time slot that they cover, so that we have enough options for people to join. And then for people to see, okay, I have to make it work for one of these times, so probably there isn't a group for me this time. Or we have to find somebody new or negotiate with people. Yeah, so organizing that is a challenge, and then finding the right, and on top of that, wanting to create good groups that with people who are around the same age, who are in around the same situation of life, single, preparing for marriage, or already in a relationship and blessed, and combining that with the time zones. Um,
Hmm.
that's usually the tricky part that happens in the week before a program launches, and we'll try to form the groups and assign them and create the best possible groups with the people available that have signed up.
Good God, yeah. And I remember trying to figure that out in the early days. It's like it is a nightmare. That is never like you can't automate it. You can't figure it out once and then okay, we're good. It's like every single time we launch a program, it's the same problem, right? And it's just the
Yeah,
fact
yeah.
that I mean, what I've learned about time zones is that first of all, they're vertical, not horizontal. Meaning like you share this same time zone with people who are north and south of you. And that like in Europe, that means that
Mm.
you're sharing the same time zone as sometimes people in Africa, because
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
right.
straight south. But then when you really start looking at time zones, you realize that some people, some countries totally cheated because there's some time zones that go around countries. It's not like a straight vertical line. It's like the zigzaggy line, and some of them literally go on the edges of a country and come back around. It's so weird. And you realize that like how do we all agree on these time zones? Because this is like one of the first probably international efforts was obviously the sun rotates and there's certain non-negotiables, but there's some fudging in there. But ultimately, time zones are the most annoying thing in the world. That I've even experienced Google had trouble. Like every time there's like the daylight savings, it happens first in I think America and then Europe, something like that. And Google gets so messed up. If you have a meeting set up with Europeans and your time zone is in America and there's a daylight savings, then Google basically goes cross-eyed for it. Does like it just some people's time zones get changed and others don't. So if like robots can't figure it out, we're all doomed, right? So that's definitely nasty. And so please know that we've been trying and we are continuing to try. And as soon as AI can figure that out for us, we will gladly receive its assistance.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
typically Robert that does all that. Is that the tradition? Is like Robert bashing his head on a countertop somewhere just behind a computer, swearing in Canadian swear words like hockey puck, sacré
The
bleu.
the operations and this specifically this part, like forming the groups,
Yeah.
this has gone through a bit of changes. It was Robert for Ascend. Robert did everything
Okay.
for Ascend last year, and Araceli basically did everything for Core and Radiant.
Okay.
But now it's changed, and now they both share and both do it for all the programs.
Man. So I'm unpacking this for you guys. I'm realizing this might be like tech talk, but I want everybody to have at least a glimpse of like all the what it's like to put this program on, because sometimes I feel fairly guilty that we are not far bigger, far faster. But there's a reason for why we haven't exponentially grown, and it's just our capacity to manage all the bits and pieces of an international community, right? So if we were just on one, small continent or something like that, we could probably grow a lot quicker. But it has been complicated to manage, first of all, time zones. Then you're talking about groups of people. How do you clump people together? Do you group people together based on their age? Well, you have a 25-year-old who's blessed and has kids, like Benji had like 17 kids by the time he was 22, or somebody who's completely single, and do they go in the same group just because they're in the same age, or is it life phase? And like there's so many variations, and we've tried a bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, we just want people to have a really good experience. But it's like it's not so easy. I feel my heart goes out to all of the coders out there who have to figure these things out for robots. You know what I mean? Who have to figure out all the logic. If this, then that. If this, oh my God, it's not easy. So, yeah. Now, thank you to Araceli. Thank you to Robert for all of your hard work and investing into time zones, people dealing with like, okay, who gets to choose what time the group is? We've settled on facilitators, right? They get to choose ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah. We ask the facilitators for their time slot, sometimes for multiple ones, sometimes just for one, so it's clear. And then people can choose from the available time slots.
Yeah. And another thing about time zones is that I think we can all agree, and by we, I mean everybody in America and everybody in Asia, that Europe just ruins everybody's life, right? Because in Asia, our mornings in Asia are American nights and back and forth. And then Europe is just in the middle, wreaking havoc on all of our lives. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's in the middle if you have to schedule a meeting with somebody in Asia and in America.
Yeah.
And then from the West Coast and the East Coast and Europe and Asia.
I just feel like European time zone is the international party pooper time zone. It's just, it hasn't yet registered as an official fact like in Wikipedia, but I'll work on it.
Okay.
It's the party pooper time zone, yeah. Okay, so we have that, and we have a bunch of software. How was it like learning the learning curve and figuring out all the software we use to put on all these things? Was it kind of like a nightmare or what?
Not a nightmare. It was some new stuff that I hadn't used before, and that had not been used in the past when I was participating in High Noon. And so coming in, there was some new stuff to learn. It was okay. I learned a lot basically from Robert and Araceli. Some things that personally I can help with, I need to do. And some things I'm not so involved in. And so only or mostly Robert and Araceli know how to operate. Benji does some of the operations here and there.
Yeah.
Or help out when needed. Yeah, after a while, it was easier to get the swing of it and understand it.
Got it. So not too crazy, but
not too crazy.
I mean, I was shocked to see all the subscriptions that help us operate as an organization, and a lot of them are for programs. I mean, again, we could go super simpler, but we could also make a perfect situation to help the most people. So we're trying to find that balance. Okay, so I think that's enough about the past and like the under the hood stuff. But I really wanted to hear from you about, you and your team had the first ever programs retreat. Because we've never even really had a programs team up until recently. The programs team in the beginning was Sammy and I. We were the programs team. We were the everything. We were the facilitators and the facilitator training. We were the back end and the front end and the butt end and every end you can imagine. But now we have a programs team. That's pretty amazing. And so you guys had the first ever programs team retreat and you guys made some decisions. So I wanted to get into what is the trajectory of programs. What are some changes that are being made? Can you let us know about those changes and also what do they mean? What are some repercussions? Give me the scoop.
Yeah. So we wanted to start with the Ascend program and kind of give it a deep evaluation. That's where we started when we met for the programs retreat. And so we reflected and tried to assess Ascend. And we asked a lot of the facilitators and longtime participants for their feedback and experience with the program. Did some research on how recovery programs in general run across the board, just to get some data in and have some points of reference. And that helped us. So we wanted to really create a journey for people in Ascend with a bit more imagery for people to work with when they join the program. Yeah. So up until recently, Ascend was weekly group calls and had weekly readings. And so we felt like it was missing a little bit of enough content for people to do on their own time as well, or as a group. It was kind of like people showed up for the group call, sharing about how the week has been kind of individually, and then people separate again for the rest of the week and then come back. And it was hard. It really depended on the group, how much of a team feeling the group could develop. And whether they had the desire to continue for another 3 months at the end of the program or not. And how busy people got in between and disappeared. And it if a group has only 2, 3, 4 people and one person keeps missing for half the program duration, it changes the dynamic of the group
it's a bummer. It's a real bummer.
Yeah. So what we came up with is we first started to create milestones that we want to bring people through and kind of define what are the milestones that we want for people to experience when they go through the Ascent program. And so we gave, for each letter of Ascent, we gave it a milestone and came up with 6 milestones, starting with aware, S for strategize, C for climb, E for empower, N for nurture, and D for dedicate.
Hey, if you are struggling to break free from porn and masturbation and you really hate this behavior, then don't skip this part, guys. Ascend is open for you guys. Ascend is our program for sexual integrity training. We have groups of men and women separated by gender. We have mentors to help guide you through the process of having sexual integrity through quitting porn and masturbation, unwanted sexual behaviors and thoughts. So if that's you, go to highnoon.org and you can join our program right here, right now, today, my friends. All right, say yeah.
And what we had in mind is that people go on a climb a mountain when they tackle recovery. And so we wanted Ascent to be kind of a program where people go on a journey. The first milestone, aware, is getting aware of what kind of journey they even want to go on. What is the mountain in their life that they want to climb? And what does it entail? What do people need to be aware of in terms of the issue at hand and the mountain, but also self-aware of where am I at in this journey and how do I need to prepare and to know before starting this journey at all. And then, so they get to the foot of the mountain, and that's when the strategize milestone happens. And we called it strategize because in the beginning, we really wanted people to have some time to think about, in order to climb this mountain, what are the tools I need? So I need to learn a few tools that I can start practicing soon. I need a group of people, a team that I can climb with, because climbing alone is really dangerous and has much higher risks of injuring myself and getting lost or not making it at all. And who do I ask for help? What map do I use? These kind of things.
Sure.
And so kind of the preparation, the getting educated on the journey to start climbing in the third milestone. And climbing, I would say, is really the bulk of the journey. That's what people do, taking action, practicing the tools they've learned, practicing recovery and practicing connection to people, practicing the goal and who they want to be. But while climbing and taking action, practicing recovery, from time to time we need to pause and recover, and that's the next milestone of empower. And we call it empower because I think High Noon has also gone through a change of, in the beginning, focusing a lot on recovery per se, how to create habits and break negative habits and stay away from the negative. A little bit like habit chain tracking, and then shifted more and more to the emotional side of it. What are the emotions and the needs, or a bit of trauma in the past, or needs that the root cause of my addiction or pornography, masturbation addiction.
Like
Deep work, yeah. So a little bit of a different metaphor I think you mentioned recently is cleaning house. If like working on my habits and working on my routines is kind of like cleaning house, and I put all my baggage in the basement, so it doesn't bother me on a daily level perhaps, but from time to time I need to go down the basement and get my supplies, and that's when something triggers me in my life and I'm triggered by the stuff in my basement, and it shows back up.
Scares the crap out of me. Weren't you? I mean, most people were scared of their basements growing up. That's what I remember.
Yeah. It's the dark place that we just put all our ugly stuff in.
Mhm.
So that milestone is about kind of addressing and exploring the root cause, cleaning basement. And so to recover and be stronger for the climb, it's kind of like two sides of the same coin. Developing the life I want to lead and my habits. You could say the external side of it and then the internal side of it. What are the emotions connected to that? What are experience my life connected to that? And so that milestone is followed by nurture. And nurture was about getting really clear on who do I want to be? Like, what kind of life do I actually want to live? And so far, I've focused a lot on recovery, how to cut off from the negative, and how to address healing emotional needs, unresolved emotional needs in my life. But also, what kind of life do I actually want to live if I know all the stuff I don't want in my life? And so nurture was really about nurturing my ideal self, the best version of myself, of who I can be, and that vision of my life, and making that clearer and clearer. And spending more time doing that, just living the life I want to live. And the last step was kind of living at the summit. When we reached the summit of the mountain, we called that last milestone dedicate, because it's about dedicating my life to a lifestyle. Recovery is not really, and I think many people go into recovery in a program with that mindset that it's a one and done thing. I'll do the program 3 months and then I'm done. And I can go back to my old habits after the program. I recover my
Which
addiction,
lead me back
and then
to
I
my
just
addiction.
exactly.
Yeah.
So realizing that it's more than just quitting to do something in my life. It's about developing a new lifestyle and dedicating myself to it. And on top of that, perhaps dedicating my life to supporting others on their journey too. And that's kind of when that last milestone is for people who finish the program and could potentially become facilitators or mentors, or they just want to learn more of how they can share their story, live that lifestyle, and share it with others.
Yeah, I like it. I think the acronym really works for now, for this stage of humanity, and then later when Channel Gook is more real, then the last one is just D for dancing, and you just dance. You just dance all day. Dance. Because you're happy, right? At the top of the mountain, what do people do as soon as they get to the top? They dance. But for now, I guess that's where the metaphor needs to kind of evolve into the fact that there are many mountains, and that's the top of maybe the first blessing mountain, and then the second blessing is another higher mountain, and you have more people that you're traveling with, but it's that determination that'll get you there. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a very clear imagery. And so can people check that out somewhere, like an image of that, so that they can see it? Because I'm a very visual learner, so I will remember the letters of the acronym because it's ASCEND, but for the words themselves, is there a way for them to visualize it?
We don't have it on the website per se, but we have. So when people go to the Ascend webpage on the High Noon site, there's a webinar on it, and we go through the milestones in the webinar.
Okay.
Of Ascend and introduce that.
Perfect. So then let's get into that, because I mean, you guys got really clear on the process, and this is important too, right? Because our question was, okay, what happens when somebody sticks around for 1 cycle, 2 cycle, 3, 4, 5? Are they just gonna redo the same content over and over again? Because some people did, but it's not really what we'd want for anybody. That's boring. So now there's like a process of growth, but like, how does that manifest in the program itself? Like, what is the new process? Because you got some plans, right?
Yes. So last week we launched Ascend Level 1, which is like a pre-program to what the main Ascend used to be. And so we wanted to create a bit of a tier of different levels in Ascend, because we had in the main program Ascend, we had a mix of a lot of people coming in. Some people who were really committed to the process and wanted to give it their all and spend all their extra time they have on recovery, and some people who were just kind of checking it out, testing the waters and see if that's something they want to do, and half-hearted in the process. And so Ascend Level 1 is an online program with videos and lessons and assignments, 21 lessons that people can do in their own pace, on their own pace. It's self-paced and doesn't have a group option. And it's kind of for people to start educating themselves and becoming aware of where they are at in this journey and whether they actually want to go all in what we now call Ascend Level 2, which is the main program of Ascend.
Yeah, so think about this, everybody. Imagine if you've been in our Ascend programs, and if you haven't, then just imagine you're in a program where it really, if it goes well, your life could change a lot. If you have a really great experience, you might learn so much about yourself, what you're struggling with. You might be able to make some very key changes that fundamentally shift how you exist in this world. But then imagine you're trying to have a really deep time, and then there's somebody in your group that is just completely not paying attention. They're super distracting. They shouldn't be there. That was what we were faced with. It wasn't happening all the time, but it was happening enough. And we don't want to say no to people, right? Because that's kind of mean. But it's the same problem with religion. Is like, if you open the doors too wide and like everybody should be in our religion, well, actually, that's a big problem, because you're going to invite some psychopaths, and they're going to say they're of the same religion as you, and they're going to create a new religion within your religion. And how many times has that happened, right? So we're trying to be discerning, because that's wise to be discerning, but we want to help people. Andy's team created a situation where a lot of it is actually self-selected, right? Because there's qualifications now to get into the normal Ascend, and that is to go through Ascend Level 1, right? That is like, can you pass this thing? Can you actually do this work? And then in order to get into Ascend, they have to have watched the videos and then signed up for Ascend Level 2, right? To get into like the groups.
Yeah, to get into Ascend Level 2, and the special thing about Ascend Level 2 is the group work, weekly group work, and continued mentorship. Everybody gets a one-on-one mentor, one-on-one support. And to get into the program, people have to finish Ascend Level 1, so the 21 lessons on their own pace, and have at least one call with a mentor.
Sweet.
Where they have like a reassessment, self-assessment.
And so essentially what you all know Ascend to be is now Ascend Level 2. Or a Sevel, as I mix all the words together. So Ascend Level 1, self-paced, to kind of show yourself, are you ready or not, based on, can I actually follow through on this? Can I do the actions? Then Ascend Level 2 is, now you're getting a mentor. Now you're getting a group with a facilitator. Now there's a team component, a family component. And then what happens after that? What happens after people do Ascend Level 2?
Yes, so this is still in the working. We want to create something called Ascend Level 3. Currently, I would describe it as everything that we're currently providing and offering to people who already finished Ascend and have done it at least once. And that's usually people who make use of that, volunteers, facilitators, and mentors, and all the trainings and courses that we have for them. And so we kind of just want to create a tier, a level that describes those offerings and structure it even more and create more of an ongoing offering for people who have already finished Ascend at least once and would like to experience something fresh or to continue their journey and go a little bit deeper, either by learning how to facilitate or mentor and take care of others while they're still growing and practice loving others, or just for their own benefit and learning more and growing more through that process.
Mm.
And so it doesn't exist yet in a structured program way, and it might look a little bit different. It might not be a program that runs in cycles and has a specific amount of weeks, but it might be different webinars or different trainings with different topics that we're offering with new groups.
Yeah, it makes sense. But it's more akin to kind of like the lifestyle. So it's not that you are forever bound to the structure of Ascend Level 2, but much more we will have trainings to help you understand yourself and understand how to be a better facilitator and to give back, because that's a huge part of growth, right? That's another thing, that there have been people who come in, get healed, and then we never hear from them. They don't even answer our messages. And we know, like, we obviously played a big part in your journey. I just want to know how you're doing. We don't want anything from you, right? But a lot of people peace out hard on us. And you don't have to volunteer for us, but serving others is a huge part of the healing process, because you'll realize that the more that you take away your bad habits that are consuming your time and energy and your emotions, you now have more time, energy, and emotions to invest in something else. And the natural next step is that you invest it into the world around you. So volunteering in your local community or together with us, which means, like, if you want to be a facilitator, we want to provide you with really good training. So facilitating is an empowering experience for you and for the people that are receiving your leadership. And ultimately, we want to become a haven for leaders to sharpen their edges, to become really powerful facilitators, mentors, listeners, the best listeners. How great would that be, Andy, if we constantly heard, oh, the best listeners in our movement come from High Noon, because they're trained so well, right? And so we naturally have to train ourselves within the core staff and anybody who's like in our inner circle, because otherwise we can't function. Because we'll just hate each other as a staff if we don't get good at communicating, listening and expressing ourselves, getting over our own stuff, working out the kinks of relationships. But that helps us function as an organization, and the benefit leaks out into our personal families. But how great would it be if facilitators receive the same benefit, where it's just like they're better brothers and sisters in their community, in their home, because of their involvement with High Noon? That's what already exists to a certain extent, and we want to build that out for anybody who's interested in just being a massively helpful person in this world, right? And you'll get that through High Noon leadership training, right? Or leadership development.
Yeah. My vision for that part, the facilitator training and the activities that we want to offer, is that people can really experience connection in it and experience what it feels like to be heard and to be seen and to hear and to see someone else. And to hear and see someone else, one of the best foundations for being able to give that as a facilitator or as a great brother or sister is having experienced it oneself and knowing that, oh, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like when I'm totally seen and totally heard. Now I know, like, what I want to achieve in others and what I want to have them feel, and I can be a catalyst for that.
It's one of the greatest skills you can learn, is like how to make yourself at ease and how to make the people around you at ease with life. Like, how do you remove the tension from whatever exists? Like, if it's just yourself and you have the skills to just kind of alleviate yourself the tension in a healthy way. And then if you see tension in a relationship that you're in, or you can help somebody like who's struggling in their life, like, that's like a superpower. It's like, I can help make wherever I am better. Who doesn't want that? It's just, I think when we labeled it as High Noon University, it's like, oh, that sounds like work. That sounds like school, right? But now if we're teaching people life skills, it's more about the benefits that they will gain. Because I don't think people want more school. And even if we said, oh, but this education will give you this, this, and this, it's more like we want to help people to just win at life, you know? And so that's why, yeah, Ascend Level 3, it sounds like, is a lot less structured like a group, like a program, and much more like a lifestyle, which will include the webinars, the trainings, the whatnot. It's like a lifetime of that. And the more you invest, the more it's just like life doesn't get easy, as in like there's no complications, but it gets way less complicated, and resolving conflict is way easier. That makes you superhuman in this world that's becoming exponentially more complicated and annoying. So yeah, that sounds fantastic. What about the other programs? Are there any changes happening, or is there something else you wanted to say about Ascend before we move on?
Yeah. About Ascend, yeah, what I wanted to add is, so Ascend Level 1 launched, and it's already open for everybody to join. We might smoothen out some kinks in the program while it's launching and still kind of in the beta and figuring that out. And then what we want to add to Ascend Level 2 are also more content for people to be able to work on in between the group calls, which is not up yet, but we are planning to get it up by the second cycle of this year.
Sweet.
So towards the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you said, Ascend Level 3 will have probably trainings kind of across the board, and from time to time a group offering. Some of that we've kind of started trying. We've had 1 or 2 groups with advanced training for facilitators just before last year finished, and some new trainings that we're offering, and we'll keep developing them.
Yeah, but basically these trainings are Andy and, spandex doing workout videos talking about you got this, you got this, you got this, something like that. Just picture that. That's what they are.
I'm recording a lot of aerobics videos for everybody out there.
Got that sweatband going on. Great. Yeah, we will figure it out. And together with you guys, we're always looking for what you feel like you need and stuff like that. And we can also work. It's just, there's so many different directions we can go and even have gone. And we just need to pick a path. And we're going to pick this path of like, Ascend Level 1 is really like, are you ready or not? Ascend Level 2 is okay, now start doing the deep work. And then Ascend Level 3 is like, okay, now that you have a bit of a foundation, how do you really heal yourself and help to heal other people? And what about Core and Radiant? Are there any changes coming down the pipe?
Yes, so we're still focusing on finishing the overhaul on Ascend. Since High Noon Couples started, there is a rethinking of Radiant happening. It's happening a little bit outside the programs team, so I'm not sure exactly where that is at. But Daria and Sebastian, they're working on revamping, kind of assessing Radiant.
They're gonna inherit ownership ultimately, right?
Yeah, basically. So we see our role. We're figuring out how we will support High Noon Couples, Daria and Sebastian, in running Radiant, but it's basically going to be High Noon Couples program.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what about hardcore?
Core, yes. We will, I think this year our plan is to give core more attention and do a deeper dive and then see what's needed, if it needs a revamp or an addition. Something that we want to work on right now in this first quarter of the year is we would like to have a clear kind of offboarding path for people, because it's a marriage prep program for people who want to prepare for the matching, for the blessing. And so we'd like to give people a clear kind of path. Now that you've finished the program, here's some things you can do next. Perhaps you can reach out to a supporter or find a mentor who can guide you on your next steps towards the matching and get real. Or maybe you're not there yet and this was just for yourself to learn, then you can continue with other programs for your self-development. Or you've discovered in the course of the core program, that there's some stuff you still need to work on, some shadows that have been coming up that would be highly impactful and influence, your life, but also your future relationship, your future marriage. And maybe you need to work on those and pay those a bit more attention. And some people go from core to ascend, or vice versa. They go from ascend to core, depending on what stage in life they're on. But yeah, so kind of create an offboarding path for people that we can show them.
I like it. So, well, this is an important point, is that we have no plans of adding any new programs to our offering for the foreseeable future. And we want to go really deep with these 3 programs. How far can we go? How many people can we help? How many breakthroughs can we have? And how much better can we get at everything from onboarding to the content to the groups, everything for all 3 programs. And now we have a programs team dedicated. We have all this attention, and we're going to start gathering data, right? So your opinions matter, your surveys. If we ask you for a survey, trust me, we don't want to give you a survey. Nobody likes doing a survey, but we want to be data driven, because otherwise we're just making it up. That's what I think a lot of organizations do. It's like, I have this idea. Here we go again. We don't want to have another idea. We want to follow the data. So part of the data is your testimonies. If you guys have ideas, you can let us know. And if we start to observe trends and this kind of thing, oh man, we'll be off to the races. But we want to really stick to, that's the plan. I guess I'm saying it, but I'd like to hear from you. Is that the plan? That we're going to stick to those 3 programs for the foreseeable future?
Yes, that's the plan. We had a staff meeting and decided on no new programs, at least for 1 year. And that looks like it's been working well, to not incorporate new programs and focus on the ones we have and gather data so we can make informed decisions.
We had a group of people protesting our programs, and they just have 4 more years, and they're just saying, just stop, leave it and perfect it. And so we're going to do that. And Andy's team, like I said, I feel like we, as chapters, we have like a really all-star cast, and now with programs we have an all-star cast. We're really set up to win. So on our end, we're really trying, and if we fall short, let us know with specific ways in which you think we can get better. Any suggestions for things that you think that we're missing, because this will be an iterative process where we're going to create the best initial first thing, and then anything after that, any tweaks we make are going to be based off of data, based off your suggestions. So let us know. Is there anything else that you want to leave people with before we go, about programs, about 2025, anything that we didn't cover?
Well, just feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the program. Some people, I receive a lot of questions about what is core. People know that, many people know that Ascend has been around for porn and masturbation recovery, but there is a program for marriage prep that's perhaps for you, right? And if Ascend is not for you, there's Radiant going to run after the Big Blessing in 2025.
Hey.
So that's going to be a prime opportunity for people to start off their married life in a great way with guidance.
Proper.
Other couples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you, Andy. This is, I feel like, we need a European touch on the programs. And you're the guy to kind of bring these pieces together and start making them coalesce and work better. So yeah, everybody, we're working our tails off here, but if you have suggestions, we're very happy. We love suggestions. We love feedback. It's actually our greatest joy is to hear from people because we're constantly sending out a signal. So like somebody on an island, when they hear back, it's like, somebody's talking to us, right? So please, and what is your email? Because it's not Andrew.
It's not Andrew. It's Andreas.
That's taken.
Andreas@highnoon.org.
Because I'm Andrew at highnoon.org, so that's taken. Luckily, I got in early on that. So
you didn't
Andreas.
have to create Andrew 123. Yeah.
Yeah. Kitty Andrew Doggy 75. So Andreas Andrew with an EAS instead of RE. No, instead of EW. Good God, that didn't make. I didn't make anything simpler. I don't. At highnoon.org.
Yep.
If you have any questions or comments, please. Yeah, let's do this. Let's make High Noon great again, everybody.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks,
Yes.
Andy, for stopping by.
Of course. My pleasure.
Avida-san.
Bye-bye.
Oh, yes, Benji here, guys. If you've benefited from this episode and you love the podcast, then please consider becoming a donor for High Noon. It is a special privilege to be a donor. If you want to donate just $10 a month or $20 a month or $100 a month, if you want some way to contribute to something really, really impactful, and you have some cash to do that, then please let High Noon be that for you. We welcome you. We are still a nonprofit, and we use all the funds to help support our programs, to change the lives of lots of people and travel the world and do epic stuff like that. So please go to highnoon.org/donate and please help us out. All right, see ya.